Has performing comedy changed any other aspect of your life?
Conversation, small talk is so much fucking worse. I always hated small talk, but when people ask you about comedy, I don't mind when people ask me about comedy, but it's that fucking thing when they say, oh, here's a joke for you. And I bet you a lot of comedians have said that in this interview. They're like, oh, tell us a joke kind of thing. But it's when people are telling me a joke or tell me something they think I'll be interested. I had somebody leave my show the other day who's my auntie's friend, and then she said, oh, your show's about being gay, you'll like this, and then told me about some other gay thing, and it's a Stephen Fry story. I'm like, I'm not going to say, I'm going to take Stephen Fry's story, who's a very famous comedian, and use him in my show. So yeah, that is small talk that's really been ruined.
Yeah, my soap opera viewing has dropped dramatically.
Yes, I am much more confident and not giving a fuck in everything else I do.
I like the way you think.
It's just, like I die in stage in front of 50 people, or I make 130 people laugh. Fuck you and your stupid problems.
Yeah, I feel like I've got a culture, a subculture, and a community that I belong to, where I've spent many years and many different jobs trying to find that, and I feel like I've got that, and it's quite a nice, calming feeling to have, knowing that you've got that security there. It's not necessarily a physical security, it's more of an emotional and mental one that you've got. Yes, I think that's definitely helped me out in that aspect.
The skills that you learn while being on stage, and to a greater extent I'm talking I think more about improv, the skills that you learn about having to think in the moment can be applied to everything else in every daily aspect of life, and working with a team.
I think improv stuff can certainly help you be a more open person. It can help you be more respectful to the ideas of others if you're doing it properly. It gives you a lot of awareness about kind of conversational cues and conversational etiquette. Like, I now notice a lot more if people are making deliberate power plays in conversation and how they're doing that. If people are feeling awkward or unengaged. Like, this is like standard audience work of like, okay, I'm talking to an audience, there's a quiet patch over there, so I need to do something to G them up. What was it that turned them off, and how can I win them specifically back? And that's something that's very translatable to like a group conversational setting of like, oh, I'm talking to all of these people. Okay, firstly, let's make sure that everyone's included. I'm talking to the whole audience.
I was always doing, even before I was doing stand-up comedy, I knew that I had this in me. So I was always writing bits and trying them out at parties. And so I would like just always do these different things. Like when I walk into a room, like I was trying out bits. I went out drinking in New Jersey, which is where I live now. And I'm like, yeah, man, like they're like, so how you find living in New Jersey? I'm like, it's pretty good. Except I can't really tell if people are angry or if they're just Italian. And so like that's a bit, that's like a joke I would tell on stage, but I try it in like a social setting just to see if people laugh at it. So the only thing that's changed about that is I still do that, but now people are like, is that a bit? Were you just trying a bit? Or people are always, if I say something funny by accident, they're like, that should be a bit.
You know, there's this great quote by Hunter S. Thompson. He said, I don't believe the truth is ever told between the hours of 9 and 5. And I think that's true. I think we don't realize it, but we are in a social jail. We can't say the things we want to say from 9 to 5. We have HR departments. We can't say what we think. We can't say what we feel. We can't do what we do. We're not really free. And I think comedy is freedom. Comedy is absolute freedom. I've never felt more free. And because of that, when I speak to people, I ask them real questions.
When I was 18, I just went straight to university after my A-levels, and I did my first gig in Freshers Week. And then since then, I've kind of categorised myself as a comedian, or had the ambition to be one. So I kind of went from like being a kid living with my parents to being like a comedian. And there wasn't a lot of middle ground, or at least a comedian in my head, as opposed to other people's head. But there wasn't a lot of middle ground. So, I mean, obviously comedy has shaped my life thus far and made me look like this. But I can't say what I'd look like if I was like an architect, you know?
Some people like don't think it's a good idea for me to do comedy, or when I've told them I've done comedy, I've seen that moment where I'm like, and then there are others who embrace it, and I just like anyone who's open-minded, and I find usually a lot of open-minded people are fine with comics, and I found open-minded relationships with a girl who doesn't mind dating a comedian, especially if he already works. You know, if I was just I don't know, live in my grandma's basement and I'm doing comedy, then they might think there's something weird about that. But I think, no, generally it's made social aspects and everything more fun. So yeah, it's just made things more fun. Being yourself more can only make your life more fun.
Yeah, it's made me taller, I think. No, seriously. No, it has. I think it's made me appreciate life a bit more. That sounds a bit wanky, but nevertheless, it has made me appreciate life a bit more. I love the fact that I've had the opportunity to meet loads of different types of characters, to indulge a thing that I thought I'd never do, which is just making people laugh and having fun doing it. I think it's made me more confident in my work life and my presentation life at work.
Yeah, I mean, it got me at Chippendale. I mean, that was kind of good. I was in a nightclub in Glasgow. It was in the days where you could smoke in nightclubs, and he was at the bar at the other end of the club near the bar, smoking a cigarette. I went up, I took the cigarette out of him, made the cigarette vanish, and just walked off. Great pulling technique.
It's something that eats up every minute of every hour of every day. It's something that you have, whatever, friends, family, relationships you might have had at the beginning, you might as well just stash those right away. And it totally transforms your life, but in an awesome way. I've made some wonderful friends, and I've restructured my life in a way that works. It's not like I don't have a family life or a relationship. I do, but they're very specialist, unique ones that fit into what I do. Yeah.
Since comedy, I had a terrible weekend in Bruges, right? That was a turning point. I think comedy is a symptom. I don't know what. Comedy is a symptom of the upturn, and it's like the personal boom. So I was at a trough, went to Bruges, I lost everything. Lost my phone. I came back from Bruges with asthma. It was really bad. I couldn't breathe at work next week. And then I started doing comedy the next month. And since then, it's sort of been going up. Quit smoking. Started going to the gym more and stuff. I think it's made me a better person.
Well, I haven't got a pension. And I try not to look too far into the future, because I think, I don't know how old one can carry on doing this.
It's given me the need to learn. It's made me, if I want to talk about something on stage, it's made me make myself learn about it and make me realize I have validity in my opinions. Just because I'm not a scholar and just because I'm not, wealthy or I'm not good looking or whatever, doesn't mean that I'm not valid.
I'm learning how to listen, especially as an MC. It's the #1 skill to have. Just shut up and listen. It's so difficult to do. Never listened to my parents, but now if I can master that skill, listening, and that's what I hope comedy will help me listen and get laid.
Absolutely, confidence, the ability to talk. I'm a really anxious person with really low self-esteem. So comedy's just been brilliant, and it's sort of making that centre of gravity within myself. It's just making it stronger and making me more sort of the person that I feel like I always would have been.
I think it's the opposite. I know how confident I am on gigging. And I think that makes me feel less confident when I'm not. I think that's how it highlighted how unconfident I am when I'm not.
Check you out with your bag for life. Oh, what you got inside a summer fruit trifle? Oh my word, that sounds delightful. Must get me one of those bags for life. Oh, check you out with your brand new Kindle. What you got inside a bit of referendum? Oh my word, that sounds stupendful. Must get me one of those boxy plastic Kindles.
Check you out with your speedy boarding pass. We're getting on the same plane, mate. We'll get there just as fast. You've gone from sitting down to sitting on your ass.
Oh my god, I wish I had a speedy boarding pass. Thank you.
A
Okay, final question. It's a bit vague, but I'm hoping that I know it'll just sort of reel off some interesting shit. Is it worth it?
Oh yeah, at the minute, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine it ever not being worth it because it gives you, like, it doesn't matter what the end goal is. If you do a gig and you get a laugh, then it's worth it. You know, like if you've written your own joke and you go on stage and you tell it and they laugh, then it's worth it. It doesn't matter about anything else. You know, it's like, and I imagine it will continue to be worth it as long as that keeps on happening.
Get through the sort of hardships and the sort of like very few laughs at the beginning of when you start it, it's definitely worth it. Like, if you can stick with it and keep practicing at it and keep doing it, 100% worth it.
Definitely, because I feel like, you know, life would be really quite dreary without it. Even when you do a shit gig, it's exciting, it makes life interesting. Gareth and I have now just done a thing, even if we do something terrible, like a bad gig or even just something really morally reprehensible in our own lives, we just go, well, it's autobiography fodder. So, you know, every crappy gig I just chalk down to, if I ever get round to writing an autobiography, that's going to be hilarious.
It's definitely worth it. It is definitely worth it. The feeling I get after I've done a gig that is really good. I mean, I've done a run at G&B like the last 4 weeks, and Kyle, I love you, Kyle, but he's really supportive, and like just the stuff he says like after I finish, and I just think thanks. He like sort of gives me the will to carry on, where sometimes I've done a gig and I haven't had a good reception. It makes me think, oh, comedy. But still, like the good time basically knocks the bad times out of the water.
I ask myself that question so many times. Yes, it is worth it. Like, you will. It's a roller coaster. You do go up and down. There are some times when you don't want to do anything else, and there are times when you never want to do it again.
I was doing a gig in Crete, which is also cool because you get to travel the world and stuff doing this. But there's a barman, and the barman doesn't go to see the comedy, and he just said, I've heard that most of the great comedians are very depressing off stage, and he said, you, my friend, are going to do well tonight.
Yes, it is. There's no doubt, because of the way that I feel when I don't do it. The way that I feel when I do it, contrasted with the way I feel anything between, even if it's costing me a fortune, or, you know, I don't need much sleep. As you get older, one of the benefits is you get drunk a lot quicker and you need less sleep. So that fits in perfectly. So maybe if I'm on stage and I do literally die on stage because the fatigue has caught up with me, then it would still be worth it.
Are you going into comedy because you have something to say, and because you think you have something unique to say, in a unique way, about your own uniqueness or about your own take on life, and because you like love performing, making people laugh, making people happy, then I think it's definitely worth it, because it does give me a huge buzz when people laugh.
I think there's comedians and there's eccentrics. I think if you put the effort in, and by that I mean I study comedy, try and become a better comedian, don't just get on stage and talk shit. Do you know what I mean? Because you're clogging the scene and you're wasting your time, you're wasting everyone's time. Or you might, you know, I don't know, but everyone's got their own different reasons for doing it. I love comedy. I love studying comedy, getting into it, and you know, I've done improv as well, which I love doing. I don't do something that I don't enjoy doing. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it.
You need to get off your ass and do it yourself, and I think those are perhaps the things where you start getting stuff that is a bit more worthwhile. Are you enjoying like really well done comedy for what it is, as the art form that it is, when it's really at the absolute top level? Or are you going out there and kind of, you know, creating the sorts of like communities and projects that are fun and engaging and that are about like relating to other people properly? Those are the fun things, I think, that make it worth doing.
100%. Yes, it is worth it. Every gig that goes bad, for not as many gigs that go good, it's totally worth it. I love my job. Yeah, man, I would not change it for the world. Yeah, man.
I never ever want to do a normal job for the rest of my life. I can't think of anything more boring. This
is just, it's creative, it lets out all my creative impulses, it gets me on stage, it's, as I said about the euphoric feeling, if it goes really well, if your set smashes, what else am I going to do that's going to make me feel like that? I mean, like, am I going to go and get an office job and come back at the end of the day and go like, oh, Gary in the cubicle next to me thought I was really funny. That's how I want to spend my week. No, fuck Gary in the fucking cubicle next to me, man. I want to be on stage in Manchester making people laugh.
It's the value that you put behind something. How long have you learned how to play guitar? How long have you learned how to play piano? How long have you kicked a football? How long have you played FIFA? How long have you invested your time into something, and how good can you really say you are? I think after 10 years of where I'm, this current, trajectory that I'm on, after 10 years, I'll be able to say if it was worth it. Because if I'm terrible, if I haven't really done much and I don't have a lot of fans, or people just hate my comedy, I'm getting -1 star reviews at Edinburgh Fringe, then yeah, that would mean that I have not done a great job. I haven't evolved. But in 10 years, I'd like to think that I would have made enough of an impact on my own self, or in whatever my style of comedy is to my fans. That will make me know that it definitely was worth it, because I love every moment of it. So far, for me, the payoff is every single time I get on or off stage.
It's worth it as a hobby. Yes, it's worth it for if you're somebody who's can be socially awkward, or they're not very confident. It's worth it for learning confidence. It's worth it on so many levels, because it's great fun. You will learn a great deal about yourself if you stick it at comedy. But it is not worth it if you're thinking about it as a career path. It's up there with acting in many ways. If I was a parent, I wouldn't want my kids to be an actor. But I think there's probably more paid acting jobs out there than there is paid comedy jobs.
Yeah, if anyone is not sure, then my advice would be don't. And so if anyone needed to hear the answer to is it worth it, then the answer is no. If you didn't need that question, if you knew you just want to do it, well, then you know you just want to do it. So nothing I can say will deter you. So for the benefit of anyone undecided, stop now, get a sensible job, have friends, go on, start a family, get some hobbies, take up the hang gliding. It's probably wonderful. Because I can't put off those people who are going to do it anyway. But that said, I would also say, that's not to say don't try it. That's not to say don't do a gig and have a bit of fun and see how it goes. If there's a sense if people set out to do a little bit of comedy, people go, assume that you're headed for the Palladium. Whereas if somebody says they're taking a singing class, we don't go, when are you on X Factor? When are you going to win a competition? When are you going to be in the charts? We go, you'll have a lovely time. Great, good for you. You'll learn something. You'll make some new friends. You'll have a lovely time. And perhaps you'll even come out of it understanding more about music and how it works, and able to better appreciate the music of others. And actually, learning a little bit about comedy and maybe doing 1 or 2 shows might be a wonderful way to make friends, build some new skills, and learn a bit more about comedy and become, in a way, a better appreciator of a very interesting art form and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I'm not saying don't give it a go. Don't muck around, and perhaps you'll muck around and decide it's for you. But is it worth it? If you're not sure about that, probably not.
Is it worth it to figure out who you are? Yeah. Is it worth it? People spend so long trying to find themselves, and I found myself when I was 22. I just didn't know it. I'm still learning it every day, but I've figured out the road I'm walking down. Most people don't get that chance. So many people don't get an opportunity to actually even head in the direction they want to be. It doesn't mean you're going to be successful. It doesn't mean you're going to make it, quote unquote. But at the end of it all, you have this time where you kind of did what you wanted. You were who you meant to be. And if that's who you're meant to be, if that's who you are, how can that not be worth it?
I'm doing it for fun, and that feeling, I remember I did a gig really early on. This was probably my best feeling after a gig. A lady came up to me and she said that her dad had passed, and she hasn't thought about anything else. He'd passed a week previous, she hadn't thought about anything else since. For that 5-7 minutes that I was on, all she thought about she didn't think about him once. She was just laughing at whatever was going on. She thanked me for that. And even now, if I have a bad gig, I think back to that moment and think, well, does it really matter? Because you made that difference to that one person. And if you weren't doing this, you wouldn't have bothered. So for me, yeah, it's worth it.
The only time it's not worth it is when it's making you sad, you know? Like, and I've been lucky enough that it's never made me sad, you know? I've struggled really hard for ages, and I intend to struggle really hard for ages more before I get to where I want to be, because that's the nature of the kind of things that I want to do. Silly little weird things that they don't get a lot of respect out the gate. You have to kind of prove that they're worthy of respect. That's something I'm happy to do. The only time it's not worth it is when, you know, the material that you're doing isn't something that you feel excited about doing, when the audience aren't feeling it, when you're not feeling it, you know. As long as you want to do it, it's worth it. So I don't know if you can tell, I like to smoke marijuana. It's one of my passions, which dulls all my other passions. I used to worry that smoking weed all the time would, you know, dent my emotional intelligence and make it hard for me to relate to the world, but now I barely ever worry. It's brilliant. That's all weed I do, though. It's just weed. I don't like heroin, you know, that's a bit much. Anything that's so good that you can ruin your life over it, that's too much, you know. Getting off with heroin's like getting off with the best sex you'll ever have in your life, but it has to be with your uncle. You know? It's like it's guaranteed to blow your mind, but at what cost?
I don't know. Yeah, Joan Rivers. I quite like Joan Rivers, but I don't know what I'd ask her. Who's your plastic surgeon, Joan?